Good evening, everyone. It's me, your favorite bio, David WildX. How you doing? Hope you're doing well at home or wherever you're watching from. Welcome to CICP Rise, the third general membership meeting of the Creator and Influencer Council of the Philippines, or CICP. All right, now for those of you who don't know what CICP is, girl, bye, why are you here? It's a newly established organization of creators, influencers, and marketing professionals that aim to shape the country's influencer marketing ecosystem. If you're interested in joining, just check out cicp.com.ph. For now, we want to reach out to you, to our members, and to our future members through this GMM. We started this last July, and now we're about to start our third GMM. Time flies, right? Especially when you're stuck at home. On the third GMM, we'll be talking about who takes the lead in creating content, especially when it comes to partnerships between creators, influencers, brands, and agencies. We'll be having a lively discussion about that today, moderated by CICP Director Erwan Youssef. So if you're an aspiring content creator or influencer and you're watching us right now, please stay tuned because this is going to be filled with all things related to content creation. Are you guys excited? Well, so am I, as our guest for this evening, and so are our guests this evening. So let us know where you're watching from in the comment section below. Let's also say hi to people who stayed tuned tonight. We have our 82 viewers right now, and more coming, I'm sure. Tonight, we'll dig deeper into the process of creating content, which is very relevant these days. And we'll be joined by our keynote speaker, creator, and influencer, V1, V only, Mikey Bustos. Take it away.
Hey there, Spy there. Pinoy boy Mikey Bustos here, and it is my greatest honor and satisfaction, really, to share all of this information with you tonight. I've prepared a talk on something called evergreen content and why I feel like it's the secret to creator longevity. So let's get started. You may or may not have heard of evergreen content. Basically, evergreen content is content that continues to be relevant long past its publishing date. So traffic grows over time. It's basically named after an evergreen tree. You guys know an evergreen tree, right? It keeps its leaves regardless of the season. Even if it's winter, it's green and alive forever. Well, that typically is what evergreen content is. Ideally, it stays alive. It continues to be relevant over time. So to better understand what evergreen content is, I wanted to go over some content that isn't considered evergreen, aka time-sensitive content. So examples of non-evergreen content include the following. In this list here, you'll see the bullet points. Videos focused on a current trend or pop culture fad. For example, the Ice Bucket Challenge. Do you guys remember that? Or let's say you're creating a reaction video to Blackpink's newest music video. Things like that are hip and they're trendy. However, they are not considered evergreen content. Also, non-evergreen content include videos centered around a specific event, like the Philippine elections or the Grammys, or current news, like the volcanic eruption of Mount Taal back in January when it erupted. These, though very current and relevant, are not considered evergreen. Now, I wanted to also go over reasons why I believe many creators today might overlook creating evergreen content for their channels or platforms. First off, evergreen content doesn't tend to acquire a lot of views right when you upload. As you can see in these bullet points here, viewership at the onset is lower, generally. Also, there's a higher failure risk. And it's kind of unpredictable because the content doesn't get that initial viewership spike that most content does, non-evergreen content does, I should say. And also, it's not as cool and trendy. A lot of young creators especially love to create content of what is trending and cool. And some might consider evergreen content not so cool. And finally, I find a lot of creators get stuck in the addiction to immediate gratification and viewership. Like when you upload, you watch the views for the first couple of days, and if it doesn't acquire views right away, you find the video a failure. And so a lot of creators are impatient. And I find this is a mistake. But this is also another reason why a creator might not want to create evergreen content. Now, it takes me to these next bullet points. Why should creators create evergreen content if all of those things are associated with evergreen content? Well, it has no expiration date and ideally will retain its value over the long term. Also, successful evergreen content works harder for you as a creator. You can create less with more evergreen content since you don't have to keep hopping on the latest trend. And so your volume can decrease and still have a beneficial yield in viewership. And also, once your current audience inevitably grows up, they move on, they leave you, your views decrease on the channel, which tends to happen. Your old videos will continue to work harder for you and gather new audiences, which is great. Now, I wanted to go over types of evergreen content before delving into my personal channel, where I can give you guys hardcore examples. All right. Types of evergreen content include lists, top tips, instructional how-to tutorials, informational and educational content, product reviews, seasonal videos like videos on Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving. Now, mind you, some websites don't consider seasonal videos as evergreen content, but I do consider it evergreen, and I'll show you examples on my channel later on. And topic-related videos that will always be relevant, like love and romance, food, finance and saving money, parenting, weight loss, jobs and careers, pet care. These are examples of evergreen content. All right, guys, now for my favorite part of the talk. We get to look at analytics. Do you guys check your analytics, all you creators out there? I hope so, because these are super important in helping you study the performance of your content. So I wanted to delve into a case study of actual videos on my channel. And we'll have a look at evergreen content versus non-evergreen content on my channel, Mikey Bustos Videos. So let's get started. The first video I wanted to show you guys is Filipino Mythical Creatures Rap. This video is considered evergreen, and it's a comedic rap video teaching the viewer about Filipino mythical creatures like aswang, duende, tikbalang. And it's considered evergreen content because it's about Pinoy culture and folklore, right? It's not about any kind of trend or specific world event. So if you look at the graph, which displays the viewership over time during the lifetime that it's been up on my channel, you'll see there's an initial spike in viewership right when it was uploaded. And then later, it has a sort of afterlife with several other spikes in viewership. See those like random bumps later on? It was published way back in 2015, but as recently as 2019, 4 years after it was uploaded, guys, it still gets surges of views. So the video experiences an afterlife and continues to work hard after it's uploaded. And this is something you'll typically see for evergreen content. Today, that video has 13.2 million views. Now, moving on to another case study, a video called Filipino National Heroes Rap. This as well is evergreen content. It's a comedic rap teaching the viewer about Filipino national heroes. And it's considered evergreen because it's about Philippine history, right? And it's not about any particular trend or specific world event. So again, if you look at the graph showing viewership, it had an initial spike, which at the time, guys, was kind of low. And we thought the video was a flop. But if you look at the graph later on, it had a very active afterlife and had yearly spikes, particularly around key holidays like Philippine Independence Day, Philippine National Heroes Day, EDSA Revolution Day. On these key dates, I noticed spikes in the viewership analytics. And today, that video has 7.2 million views. And now I want to show you guys a third case study, a video called I Put It in My Soup, Taylor Swift, Look What You Made Me Do parody. So this is a comedic parody about making a crazy soup with absurd ingredients, all to the tune of Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do. So Taylor Swift had just released the song at the time, and then we published our parody 3 days after. Now, if you look at the graph, you can see that it had a huge, huge initial spike in viewership, and it went quote unquote viral. It had hit over, I don't know how many millions. But after that, it didn't work very hard at acquiring viewership. You can see it kind of flatlines out. Um, and there was no afterlife. So it banked on the time sensitive relevance of Taylor Swift's song. So today that video has 4.2 million views. Now, if we compare the graphs of the evergreen Filipino mythical creatures rap and this non-evergreen I Put It Into My Soup video, you can see that although the Filipino mythical creatures rap video has been up on my channel longer, the I Put It in My Soup video will likely never ever get to reach the kind of viewership that Filipino mythical creatures rap did at its equivalent age, based on the trend of the graph. You can see the blue there is Taylor Swift's, the Taylor Swift video. It's not getting any more spikes. And so, as you can see, the evergreen content has its benefits because it continues to stay relevant and acquire views over time. And now I'm going to get into my tips for creators. But first, I wanted to show you one more case study. It's the 12 Days of Filipino Christmas video on my channel. And if you look at the viewership graph, you'll see that it also has an afterlife because every Christmas, people watch the video. And this is why I consider seasonal videos to be evergreen, although some people don't consider seasonal videos to be evergreen. Now, I wanted to also use this opportunity to give a disclaimer that just because a video is evergreen type, it does not guarantee the video will do well. Evergreen content is still subject to the same laws as time-sensitive content in that if your video sucks, it won't get views. That's just the way it works. All right, guys. So for all you creators out there, vloggers, bloggers, content creators, influencers, this message is for you. You guys absolutely need both evergreen and non-evergreen content. It's about finding a good balance that works for you. Me personally, I like to use both evergreen and non-evergreen content on all my channels. For instance, my comedy channel, Mikey Bustos Videos, which is composed mostly of comedic parodies of trending songs at the time. Now, these trending songs, of course, make it non-evergreen content because it's basically time sensitive, right? However, I'm often singing about evergreen topics. And so that way I'm able to make use of, or get the best of both worlds rather, right? Now, I have another channel called Ants Canada, which happens to be my bigger channel. And it's about biology and ants. So it's almost exclusively evergreen content. However, every now and then I'll throw in a non-evergreen video. For example, the last non-evergreen video I have on that channel is called Quarantining an Ant from Its Whole Colony. And that video is about basically taking a colony, an ant away from its colony and observing it for 12 hours in hopes that I can bank on the whole home quarantine that we're all experiencing now, right? And that did get a surge of views at first. And YouTube over time has been treating it like an evergreen video. So it's kind of, again, benefiting from the best of both worlds because it's evergreen due to the biology aspect, and because of the pandemic, it's also non-evergreen. And so my closing notes, of course, to all of you creators out there is it's so important to create evergreen content. the danger of only creating time-sensitive, non-evergreen videos where you're chasing the latest trends, relevant events, and the latest craze. Take it from me, it gets tiring after a while. It's kind of not really sustainable as much, and it can be dangerous if you're expecting to have a long-term career in content creation. Now, if having a career in content creation isn't your career choice, then whatever. Create content, whatever floats your boat, right? But if you are expecting to have a long-term career, evergreen content is super important. And it is most especially dangerous if you are a personality-based content creator. Meaning if you're on screen, your face is on camera, you're talking to camera, and most of your content is focused around your personality. It's these types of creators that are most in danger if they don't create evergreen content, because let's say you're the next biggest vlogger, right? And everyone loves you. Well, the nature of audiences is they're generally quite fickle, right? So new creators come along, and then the audiences eventually migrate to the next group of creators, or they grow up and they use YouTube differently. And it's these kinds of creators, once the audiences leave, that wish they had evergreen content to support them in times when views are low, because these evergreen videos will continue to get them new audiences over time. As I said, they work harder for you. And so in conclusion then, yes, time-sensitive content will help you have a career in content creation now because it's your hero content, right? It'll get you views fast, grow your channel quickly. However, it's evergreen content that will help you have a sustainable career in content creation tomorrow. Evergreen content is, in my opinion, the secret to creator longevity. Hope you guys enjoyed this talk, guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I'm happy to answer them, or even ask questions in the Q&A. And now, guys, it's back to you, David.
Thanks, Mikey. That was a meaty keynote speech coming from you. And girl, we both know I like the beat. Indeed, creating evergreen content is a great strat, as it can remain very relevant, especially during these unprecedented times. Aside from being for creators and influencers, what we love about them is that there's something that our viewers and fans love to watch, as something that we really need these days. So guys, let us know what you think of his keynote speech by leaving comments below. In fact, let's see who's watching us right now. We have Lucy and Joan watching from Cagayan de Oro. And we have the Blogapalooza fam tuning in as well. Shout out also to the Mabuhay squad. So guys, share this live stream because in a while we will be having our fireside chat, and feel free to leave some questions below in the comments so that we can ask our panelists later. But before we proceed to our fireside chat, let's come together for a moment of silence to pay tribute to one of the most celebrated creators in the Philippines who was gone too soon, Lloyd Cafe Cadena. He was also our Social Good Awardee last July, and for all the good work he's done for his fellow Filipinos. To Lord, wherever you are right now, we know you're watching over us. May God bless your kind soul. Let's watch this video as we remember Lloyd and honor his memory.
Hi! Huwag kalimutan mag-subscribe sa aking main channel, Lloyd Capirete, masakap vlog channel, Lloyd Capirete Vlog. At para ma-update ka sa aking every upload, i-click notification bell, subscribe button para gusto ko yun! Gusto ko yun!
Lloyd truly gave so much light in so many people's lives. May you rest in peace, friend. All right, at this point, let me introduce to you our fireside chat moderator for this month's GMM. Please welcome CICP PR officer, a man as delicious as his food, Erwan Husaf, live from the land down under. Take it away, Erwan.
Thanks, David. That was a great intro. Hi, everyone. I'm so pleased to be the fireside chat moderator for this month's GMM, alongside the amazing panelists who I'm about to introduce to you. But before we start, I kind of wanted to say hi to everyone watching from all over the Philippines. Thank you to all our members who are tuning in, and to all the future members who will join us soon. So let's get started. So we're welcoming back our keynote speaker, creator and influencer, Mikey Bustos, and our other fireside chat panelists. We have from Harrison Communications, creative director, JC Javellana. If I say it wrong, just correct me later. And,
sure.
And from Levi Strauss Philippines, Inc., we have the marketing manager, Kat Costas. So thank you all very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
How's everyone doing?
Great.
Oh, good at home. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to jump right in. We all talk about social media marketing and influencer marketing quite a bit, but we very rarely go behind the scenes of it all. Understandings how those deals are put together and how they're made, and what all that side that's not in the public eye actually looks like. On the influencer side, it comes down to being able to do what made them popular and to just get paid for it. And then from the brand and agency side, obviously, it's to make sure that they reach whatever their campaign goals might be. So a lot of the times it can be a very tricky game of compromise, but one that I think as the industry grows, we're learning to navigate more efficiently. So that's what I really wanted to get. I wanted to go over today. So it'll be really insightful, I think, to have three perspectives on this. This is no holds bar. It's live, I know, but feel free to say whatever you want. It can't be edited later, but you know. So we'll maybe start with Kat and JC. Just to kind of give you some context, I think for when all this started, we took it from the perspective of a celebrity endorsement, in a sense where a brand would want to associate its name with the name of a celebrity. But then now, obviously, as creators and influencers start getting known not only for who they are, but more of what they do and their treatments and their craft, what goes behind the selection process? And what are the things that you kind of look for? So Kat, JC, whoever wants to go first.
Kat, you want to go first?
I'll go ahead. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it goes down to our objectives. So what is the influencer able to deliver for the brand? So first, we look into someone that can expand our reach. So we want someone who will amplify the brand message. Second, we also look for someone who can co-create content with us, because Levi's, we're a global brand. So in terms of the assets that we have, a lot are coming from global market, from global teams. So it's using the local influencers that we are able to inject some local flavor into the Levi's brand. And third, it's also giving a face to Levi's. So through influencers, they're able to make the brand a little more relatable to the audience. So creating that emotional connection. So looking into that, how we select, I think the most important to us would be brand fit. So does the influencer represent the brand in terms of our brand values, our personality? For Levi's, because we're a fashion brand, our style. We also look into they naturally loving the Levi's brand. So we try to get influencers who already we've seen have tagged us in the past, who use Levi's. That way there's the authentic connection to our brand already. And we look for someone who has that innate engagement already with their followers. So we want their audience to already like them, share them, comment on their pages, and then extend that, of course, to the Levi's brand.
Would you say it's still very much an emotional process in terms of, does this influencer fit the emotion of what the brand represents? Or do you think it's becoming more and more data and analytics driven?
I think there's still the emotional play there more than the data. So for Levi's, maybe yes, the numbers are important because we want to expand reach, but more than that, it's the relatability to our brand. Because Levi's has a specific look, so we can't really push someone whose style is very different to a Levi's and expect them to wear Levi's.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
And-
I think authenticity is very important to influencers. That's why we're doing influencers. It's really to drive that authenticity, credibility versus getting a paid talent or getting a paid endorser to do that. I think there's the level of authenticity, which is today's word of mouth becoming more digital.
Correct. Yeah, I like the point
Yeah.
you made about people who already naturally were using the brand, and a lot of times, funnily enough, that's how a lot of these deals happen, which is great. JC, from an agency perspective, you're sometimes, most of the time, caught between a rock and a hard place. You get hit from both sides.
Yes. Yes.
So how do you come up with kind of like your recommendations when you're working for a brand in terms of how do you select the influencers that you want to work with?
As Kat mentioned, first you have to be clear what the objective is, and I think that will guide you in being strategic in the influencers that you pick. And as Kat mentioned, first there's the consideration of reach. Who are you talking to? Who's the target market? And does the target market really follow these influencers? So in terms of alignment, you have that to take that into consideration. So that's for reach. And the second part of it is that how much of the influencer's personality or brand that they created is very much aligned to the client's brand, for them to be able to collaborate effectively. Because at the end of the day, it really goes both ways. They each have contributions to each other's brand building, so to speak. The influencers, by using his digital savviness, is able to add more brand affinity for the brand, while the brand, riding on something very digital and very organic now to everyone, to all consumers, because we are all very much on digital already, allows them to penetrate that market and penetrate it effectively, given the popularity of the influencers that they pick. So that's really how we consider it. So usually the brief that you'll get is that we have this campaign, we want to tap influencers, and these are the platforms that we want to get into. So automatically, by concentrating on specific platforms, that you already get to pick the kind of influencers that fit the mold. And from there, you streamline until you come up with your probably top 5, and then that's what you propose to client. Or sometimes it's also a collaboration between clients and us. We kind of like are on the lookout for possible influencers, and we talk to each other. How about this influencer or that influencer? And it also boils down to, of course, at the end of the day, we have finite resources, so we also have to be able to maximize the budget. So what's the strategy? Do you go for one big influencer with so much following, or do you go micro influencers and take the quantity route? So that's something that we can discuss as we game plan for the campaign before we actually go out to tap the influencers that we have in mind.
I'm sure it's changed a lot too, because I've been in the industry now for almost 11 years, and 11 years ago, it was hard to convince a client why I was doing something the way I was doing it, and why it would reach a certain target market, because there was a lot of traditional, media and marketing people at the top. Do you find now we're really going more, because a lot of people like to throw that word around, collaborations, but do you find now that we're going more really towards real collaborations where an influencer is asked to actually co-create?
I believe so, because personally, I speak from experience. So sometimes we do need to prepare a creative brief for the influencer, just so it's really aligned with our understanding of our client and our brands. But at the end of the day, these are ways in that they can explore. But I always tell the influencers that, but I don't want you to lose yourself in the creation of this content, I still want it to be you, but given this brief, how do you put your, for example, your Mikey spin to it? How do you spin it the Mikey way if this is the objective? So it's always, it has to be always aligned, of course, with the influencer's brand, because at the end of the day, the reason why we're also tapping that person is because we know he's an effective influencer and he's done so many things right. So it's really a matter of how does the brand now fit this influencer's brand, and how can we use both the brand's strength and the influencer's strength to come up with a collaboration that's very effective.
Perfect transition. Mikey, what happens when it all goes wrong?
Well, you just kind of roll with the punches, I suppose. Have been working with brands now for, well, probably as long as you, Erwan. It's been maybe 10 or 11 years, and it has changed over time. You're right. There's been a shift of behavior and relationship between brand, agency, and creator. For me, I think the biggest thing when working with the brands is that brands and agencies, I'm just speaking from a creator standpoint, need to know that there is sort of an already pre-existing culture. For example, we creators have our own language and a way of speaking to our audience, right? There's a certain a relationship there that if it's ever polluted in any way, the audience will pick up on that, right? So I think one of the best things I tell to brands and agencies is if they can keep their objectives, their list of objectives short, then that way the culture becomes less polluted once that upload goes up, and it seems more authentic and natural. It's in the same voicing as, you know, the creators that the creator has established with the audience, with his or her audience over the however many years or months that they've had the following. And yeah, I think sometimes brands have a whole list of like objectives. We want to drive traffic to our Facebook page. We want people to know about our product. We want to show them where to buy the product. But then the longer that list gets, I just feel like sometimes the messaging gets too makalat. You know what I mean?
Well, especially now, right? Because there's so much happening online all the time.
And just like a family member who suddenly is speaking differently to you, you can tell something's up. And then that detachment from your potential demographic of audience that the brand is looking for and the brand, there's a disconnect there all of a sudden, which you don't want. You want it to feel like it's an authentic review or whatnot, whatever content you're uploading is.
Would you say as the industry matures, you know, in the beginning, everyone was like, what, you're going to pay me to do this? Okay, cool. I'll take on all the projects. But do you think now that the industry has kind of matured, it's also the responsibility of the creators to say, hey, I might not be the best person for you for this campaign?
Absolutely. I think at first, you know, when you're first starting off, you kind of have less room to say no and be like, no, I'm not going to accept your project of 500,000 pesos. You know, it's kind of hard when you're first starting off. But then the more you start to develop as an influencer and you kind of climb the ladder, you start to have more of that freedom to be authentic, which is great. And it starts to feel less like prostitution. I call it digital prostitution. Like it's like a one-off big bang and you got your audience, I got my money, we're leaving. And it starts to feel more like a marriage. And one of the things I love to promote in this industry is ambassadorship. And what is ambassadorship? It's more of like, not just a one-off big bang project. You know, like sometimes you'll see influencers be like, oh, and this is the beach, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, I'm using like this cell phone, blah, blah, blah. And it's awesome. Okay, back to the beach. For me, that feels more like digital prostitution. And like audiences are not dumb anymore. They know this person was paid just to put it there. And when they see it, they kind of disconnect. They're like, okay, he needs the money. So let's just sit back while he does his ad. Okay, back to the content. You don't want that, right?
Okay, so it's really about
Yeah, I always encourage more than one. If the brand has a lot of objectives, they should invest in an ambassadorship where they choose a small group of influencers and they invest in multiple uploads or posts. And that way it feels more authentic, more like a marriage and less like a digital prostitution.
No STDs, right? So it's really about building value in that relationship, right?
Correct.
Like
yes.
you were saying, I personally feel like if I do a campaign and it doesn't do well, I feel bad, right? Because there's a certain responsibility. I go to the supermarket and I buy fruit. I get the value of that fruit. I know exactly what I'm getting. So, Kat, what happens when? Because at the end of the day, it is a business transaction. So, what happens when all this is set, the deal is signed, it goes through, the influencer, the creator distributes the content, and it doesn't do well? Do we need to move to a point where now brands can expect more in terms of, hey, you need to reach this KPI or this many views, or this many comments and stuff?
I think to begin with, you have to make sure you have realistic KPIs, because there is so much that an influencer can do for your brand. They are there for that added reach, added engagement, but in terms of sales, there are a lot more components that goes into it. So you can't really rely solely on the power of one or a few influencers. So I think that's where the reality check also needs to go back to brand. So you are tapping an influencer to help you, as mentioned earlier, for awareness, to give a face to the brand. So in terms of KPIs, maybe that's what you can check on. Added awareness, added engagement, but you can't really put sole pressure on influencer to drive sales. That's not possible.
Is that changing now with the advent of like the acceleration that we've seen in e-commerce? Do you think now we can, like affiliate marketing is pretty big nowadays. Are we going to see more and more influencers being tapped specifically to drive towards a link or towards a product?
Yes, I think even for Levi's, we've started that. So there are unique promo codes that we do give for influencers. But again, it's with the different mix of marketing efforts that we're doing. So it can't be just solely influencers. It has to be everything working hand in hand, and e-com in itself, in terms of operations, working very well for it to deliver in terms of sales. So what most influencer can do for you is give you that added awareness, added reach that will drive more people maybe to the page. But to really close the sale, that's the job of the brand.
I think that's a great point. And JC, I'm going to unload this question on you, even though it wasn't part of the notes. But she brought up something that was really great. In terms of the ecosystem, because a lot of people, because influencer marketing or creator marketing or whatever you want to call it is the loudest in the room, we sometimes forget that it is only a small percentage of what social media / online marketing should be.
Exactly.
Do you think at any point the creators or the influencers should be made aware of those efforts to know how they better fit within that ecosystem?
I think it's smart when they get briefed, that it's clear to them what their role is in the whole communication strategy. Because like Kat mentioned, influencers, although they comprise a big part of the digital campaign, for example, especially when you want to create traction when you launch, it's not reliant solely on them. It has to be a complete 360, and there are other elements in the campaign that would help support each other to ensure that the campaign succeeds. So it's better if they are made aware of that, so they know their role in the bigger scheme of things. So yes, it's quite important.
Yeah, and I think when they know that, they're able to collaborate better. They can inject their own flavor, knowing the business issue, knowing the campaign message. Then I think they'd be able to freely propose a concept that is fit within their brand image.
I think there's obviously a very big difference between people who just got into it and who all of a sudden got all these followers and engagement versus people who are trying to establish themselves not as a brand but as an influencer, establishing him or herself as a company. And Mikey, you've been in this for a long time already, so you probably you have a manager. You guys probably function more like a company than you do as an individual. So how do you cost a project? Like, how do you put together You don't have to tell me how much you make, by the way.
Yeah.
You can DM me later. But how do you cost a project?
Well, we take a look first of all at the brand's objectives, and also ask them specifically where they would like for the content to be posted. How many postings, what platforms, that kind of thing, for how long. These kind of things factor into the costs. And also, in terms of their creative brief, if they have already an idea in mind, we'll kind of look at it and budget it out. Because we often need to pay staff, production staff, costumes, makeup, that kind of thing, get permits even sometimes. And that can cost a big part of the budget. So it really depends on all those kinds of factors.
How do you cost in like production value? Because now more and more brands are coming in, more budgets coming in online. You know, a one camera team versus a 6-camera team with, I don't know, Aries, Alexas, and then you get a colorist on board. These things change costs. And a lot of times we receive pegs and then we get a budget and we're just like, whoo, what's going to happen here? So is that where you think constant communication is really key in these projects? And like, as we go towards more of these projects, like, how do you think this whole thing can be more efficient? Like what advice would you give both a brand and an agency and coming up, you know, creators coming up?
Yeah, well, there are so many layers to that question. Well, for one thing, personally, I found that actually hiring a team and like having my own production team, as you would know, is the most cost-effective way to do it, as opposed to going through some third party and doing it that way. But yeah, I think if brands want something more polished, right, and more sheen, because a lot of brands really aren't looking for that raw kind of feel, that like very organic. They want beautiful and sheen. And in that case, they would have to look for influencers that maybe have their own production team, because possibly that might cost less than say you went to some other influencer who doesn't have that creative infrastructure around them. And so, yeah, it really, on the creator's end, if they're at that point where they can have a team, it's probably the best, most cost-effective way for everybody, and make use of the budget.
JC, what do you think on the agency side? If you could speak to all the creators and influencers in the country and tell them a piece of advice that would make them more attractive to brands and more attractive to agencies, and what can they do to get more work, basically?
I think what's amazing about influencers is that they're able to tap into people's attraction to certain things. They capture a certain insight that people are attracted to, and however they execute that, that's where they create their brand of how it is to be an influencer. My tip is to always remain authentic and to stay true to what got you started in trying to become an influencer in the first place. Because if that's clear to you, then it's easier for you to know which brand will fit collaborating with you, or which brand will, it's kind of not your style. So by having clarity on that helps you define and perfect the brand that you've created. And I think it all boils down to that. I just also wanted to touch on what Mikey said earlier, and maybe because I've had a lot of experience with other influencers, but Kat was spot on when she says we also need to manage the expectations when we brief influencers. Because, for example, if you brief an influencer who is known for the raw executions, the organic executions, super funny, you're not going to brief them and ask them to like come up with a very polished, glossy material, because that's off-brand. So I guess casting the influencers is also very, very important, and knowing the kind of output that they produce everyone has to be aligned, even at the briefing stage, so that we all have the same expectations when the output comes out. But yes, to answer your question, Erwan, I think authenticity. Authenticity is the thing that will help define you as an influencer.
Okay, great. And Kat, to wrap up, how do you feel from the brand side? You've worked, I'm sure, with both small and big names, and you have the added layer of having to work with region and international offices who are probably really strict with how they do things. Have you seen throughout the years, have you seen Levi's kind of go from, instead of like one-off projects, do you really value kind of longer term relationships between creators, influencers, agencies, and brands?
Yeah. So now we're into looking at nurturing these influencers to be more of brand ambassadors. So to create that, we really need to constantly collaborate with them, and rather than be one-off, because what's hard with working with one-off influencers is you don't really have that brand loyalty. So I think that's something that can be missing sometimes with influencers. You see one day they're promoting your brand, the next day they're in using competition's brand. So I think it's important to nurture that relationship, and then really have them become like a face for your brand, an advocate for your brand, because we're looking at this long term, and we're not looking at this as a one-off tactical project.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's right on time. Thank you, Mikey, Kat, and JC for joining us. So again, Mikey Bustos, we had JC Javayana from Harrison Communications, and Kat Costas of Levi's Philippines.
Thank you too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So that was a great conversation. I think what I got out of it is authenticity, collaboration, co-creation are still very much top of mind when it comes to these online collaborations. But at the same time, as things become more mature and more business-like, influencers also have the responsibility of starting to act more like businesses. So yeah, that was great. David, back to you.
Wow, thanks Erwan. And to our fireside chat panelists, JC, Kat, and Mikey, thank you. It's really wonderful to be able to learn from people from different sides of our industry, right? I feel so blessed to be learning from you guys, all thanks to these monthly GMMs. How about those of you who are watching us live? What do you think about the conversations during the fireside chat? Let us know by leaving a comment below. We have about 220 viewers tuning in. Niana Guerrero and Bogart the Explorer are also watching. Hey guys, so keep leaving comments, keep hitting those reacts, those like buttons, those hearts, because we need them, guys. Moving on, it is time to give our Spotlight Awards to the creators and influencers who have gathered or generated a niche, hyperlocal, or interest-based community using content and or influence. Are you guys excited for the reveal of these Spotlight Awardees for our third GMM? I'm sure you guys have been waiting for this. So without further ado, let me give to you the Spotlight Awardees for our third GMM. Please.
Hola Bells! Magandang Jofon! Nandito ko akistra sa Gintramuros Nila Bells bilang katatawag ng klase. Hi everyone, Makoy Dubs here. How are you guys? I hope you're all doing well. And I just realized that magwawalang buwan na tayo nasa loob ng ating mga bahay. Huwag kang mawawalan ng pag-asa na mas marami pa rin yung araw na mas maganda at mas may araw kaysa sa umuulan. So, take a rest, take a breath, and everything will be fine.
Sila. How do you know that they are wise buyers? Despite of them becoming rich, they know how to bargain. They know how to negotiate. Hindi sila nahihiya na tumawad. Yun ang isang sign na talaga ng tunay na mayaman. Kaya nga sila yumaman hindi dahil sa sobrang waldas sila. Hi there, this is Ching Kitaan, also known as Mr. Ching Positive. Thank you very much for the Spotlight Award. okay, for recognizing me as one of the creators that influence on the area of finances. We teach people on how to become wealthy and debt-free. Kaya maraming salamat sa mga iponaryos, sa mga chinknatics na sumusuporta sa channel na ito at patuloy po sana tayo dumami. At sa mga creators po, I encourage you to keep on doing it, be consistent, never give up, just be positive, not sa COVID, with your mindset. Just Chinkitan saying, to every problem, there's always a solution. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Always think positive. Bye.
Hi everyone, this is Charm from Ready to Adult Philippines, a channel about personal finance, entrepreneurship, and adulting how-to. I've been wanting to make a YouTube channel for a while now, and I asked my friends on Instagram stories what they want me to talk about. Majority of them said budgeting and investing. I'm gonna focus first on budgeting because it's the foundation you need to be able to invest. Thank you so much to the Creator and Influencer Council of the Philippines for this recognition of being in this month's Spotlight Award. For a small channel like mine to get recognized, it is truly an honor. So I hope to continue to inspire, guide, and grow alongside my audience. So once again, thank you so much CICP, and I will see you guys on my next video.
So yung may pinakamalaking percentage of votes doon, yun yung gagawin ko. And since my Facebook friends get to decide kung ano yung gagawin ko for the day, ang itatawag natin sa challenge na to is Hi CICP and to all the brilliant people behind it. Thank you very much for recognizing me as one of your Spotlight awardees for this month. It's so empowering to be recognized by a community of talented creators who serve their passion with a purpose so well. So do continue to inspire others and more power.
Hi guys! Good morning! Welcome back to another video. Magligpit ako. If you happen to click this video for the first time, if you're new to my channel, guys, please consider watching at least 5 minutes, 6 minutes of my video. Know me more in my playlist, quarantine videos, mom life videos, product reviews, beauty videos. Kayo na bahala kung anong gusto nyo panoorin. Know me more, guys. Hello fellow content creators, I am Jaya Chan from Cagayan de Oro. It is so heartwarming to be seen and acknowledged by our fellow content creators, and this Spotlight Award will only fuel me to do more of my passion, and that is to empower moms and inspire fellow content creators.
Congratulations to our Spotlight awardees for this month. Congratulate our Spotlight awardees in the comment section below. Now, moving on, it's time to give you guys some updates. I love updates because it makes me look forward to all the things CICP has in store for the upcoming months. Exciting things are happening in the next few weeks, especially for CICP members. This coming October 23 to 24, CICP has partnered with the Republic Group of Companies, Visman's largest digital agency, to bring you BICON Infest 2020, the first and biggest virtual gathering of creators and influencers in the Philippines. Here's a sneak peek of what you can expect.
Good afternoon, Plastic Balloon. How are you doing, Cebu?
Moreover, here's another relevant topic for creators, influencers, brands, and agencies alike: legal advice and taxes for our industry. CICP is hosting an exclusive webinar for its members tomorrow. The keynote speaker is Mr. Mon Abreu, the chairman and senior tax advisor of the Asian Consulting Group, or ACG, and founding trustee of the Center for Strategic Reforms of the Philippines. He will be joined by attorney JJ Decini, one of the top IT law experts in the Philippines and CICP's Director for Ethics and Governance. This is a special webinar where you can learn from the top legal and tax experts in the country. It's moderated by CICP Director for Education, Training, Carlo Ople. Find out everything you need to know about legal and taxes in relation to the influencer industry tomorrow at September 30. A registration fee of 500 pesos will be needed for non-CICP members. Just email hello.cicp@gmail.com for details. We have good news to CICP members too. ACG, as a partner, when it comes to helping members with their tax inquiries, is extending free TaxWiz PH Online Academy VIP passes to all CICP members. Just use the code TWPH_CICP. Find out more about it through cicp.com.ph. That's it for CICP updates. Exciting, right? We'll definitely have a lot more things in the pipeline for our members and soon-to-be members of CICP. So if you haven't signed up to be a member yet, or if you want to know more about what CICP is up to, please do follow us on our socials. Here on Facebook and on YouTube, we are Creator and Influencer Council of the Philippines and CICP.ph on Instagram. Also, you can visit our website, www.cicp.com.ph. Thank you. And there you have it, everyone. The CICP Third General Membership Meeting. Thank you to our keynote speaker, Mikey Bustos, and to our Fireside Chat panelists, JC Javiliana and Kat Costas, and to our Fireside Chat moderator and CICP PR Officer, Erwan Husaf. This has been your host, David Wild X, and to our members, see you again next month for our 4th General Membership Meeting. Let's continue to rise.